Hi everyone, my name is Justin. I'm the creator of OSnap, an iOS application for making time-lapse and stop-motion photography projects on your iPhone or iPad. In this tutorial, we're going to be looking at how to modify OSnap's default project settings so that every time you create a project, it has exactly the settings that you want. This can be a very useful feature if you find yourself creating a series of OSnap projects that all have similar requirements and you don't want to have to repeatedly modify your project settings every time you create a new project. For example, maybe you wake up every morning and set up OSnap to shoot a time lapse of the sunrise and you have settings that you know work for you. Using the default project settings, you can simply set those settings once, and every time you create a new project, it will have the exact settings that you want. To modify default project settings, we'll navigate to any project's regular settings, scroll all the way down, and under Global All Projects, where it says Default Settings for New Projects, I'm just going to tap, and here we're in the Default New Project Settings. So here I'm just going to make a couple of modifications. We'll specify that we want every project to be landscape, use the front camera, and we'll specify that we want it to be 4K capture resolution and HEIF. Okay, now that those are set, let me return to the home screen and I'll create a new project. And you can already see that that project is set to landscape and front camera, just as we specified in the default project settings. And if we navigate into the project settings, we can see that the capture format is HEIF, the resolution is 4K, and of course the device camera is front and the orientation is landscape. So you can see how that works. So now let me just return to the home screen. And another way that you can set default settings is that if you already have an OSnap project that has the settings that you want, then you can simply import the settings from that project into the default settings. So I'll show you how that works. I'm just going to navigate into the settings for the project that we just created, and let's make a couple of modifications. We'll specify that we want the orientation to be portrait, and it will use the back camera, and the capture format will be TIFF. Now I'm just going to again scroll all the way to the bottom, tap into default new project settings, and then at the very bottom of the screen there you can see where it says import settings from current project. I'm just going to tap it. A confirm dialog will come up letting you know that the default new project settings will be overwritten by the settings of the existing project, and I'll just tap do it. And you can see now that the settings that we just set, which was orientation portrait, device camera back, capture format TIFF, have all been imported into the default project settings. One other thing that I'd like to point out about importing settings this way is that in another tutorial, we looked at how to save your camera sessions from session to session. For example, you might set the focus, the EV gain, the camera zoom, etc. And then you turn on save camera settings from session to session. And every time you return to the camera in a specific project, those settings are automatically reapplied to the camera. If you have a project set up like that and you import those settings into the default new project settings, every time you create a new project, those settings will travel with that project into the default project settings. So in the example that we talked about at the beginning of this tutorial, where you might be shooting a sunrise every day, you could simply create a new project, navigate to the camera screen, and all of those settings that you may have set up, like for instance, focus locked, EV gain, white balance, etc., would all be automatically applied to the camera with each new project that you create. So that's just another useful and probably little known feature that I wanted to point out. So that covers it for setting default project settings for new projects in OSnap. Thank you everybody for watching this tutorial. Thanks everyone for watching. If you'd like to see more tutorials, leave us your thoughts in the comments, or you can email us at osnap@osnapphotoapp.com.